Jason Ogden, Chief of Police, Sweet Home.
I'm Amanda Mallory. I'm a Sweet Home resident, and I also work one to another for volunteer.
Cynthia Fox, Sweet Home resident, and I also volunteer putting families in Sweet through One Twin.
Oh, Benny was got a reporter in there.
That's gonna get away with it, didn't you, Benny? Bob Dalton, I'm a member of the Health Committee, Chair of the Health Fair, Parks Board, and a couple others, so glad you're here.
Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. Before you now have the minutes from our last meeting, and I hope everybody's had time to look them over.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a,
I'll second.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. All right. That brings us to committee reports. So we have Community Health Fair Committee.
It's really comes up really quick on the agenda, doesn't
It does. It's amazing. Oh, real quick, I'm going to interrupt you. Is there anybody remotely attending? Okay, calling on you made me think of Dick.
No, I was thinking of whether he would be online or not. He usually is there, so.
Okay.
Anyhow, when it comes to the health fair, I've already started getting a couple of inquiries from individuals outside of our community that want to be here this year. So I was a bit surprised because usually it comes a little bit later in the year. But I'm glad they're already knocking on the door to want to come back to Sweet Home to be a part of the health fair. I was hoping Dick would be on there also because Dick and Christy and myself and Terry met just this last week. You might even talk to a little bit of what we talked about so the group knows. See, I put you right on the spot. I could do it. I know. Yeah, it was a good, just a quick meeting to kind of break the ice a little bit about it. Dick was really trying to look at some of the statistics around mental health in the school district, and you had reported, you know, especially just on the homelessness piece of it, that what was it, 10% of children out there don't have that permanent address. There doesn't mean they don't necessarily have a home to stay in, but they don't have a permanent address in that. So trying to gather some numbers and data there a little bit about, you know, can this health committee be somewhat instrumental in helping them find resources that kind of support the mental health side of it in the school district? And I asked Christy, you know, was there a master plan kind of to address that, or were they just fitting bits and pieces together as they could find it? And mainly it was the idea that we're just trying to find those resources randomly out there versus a more organized approach. But I think the thing we came out of that meeting with, that the resources sometimes are just not there, and they can't find them, or if they do have them, they're not always reliable sources either. So we're kind of just in the information gathering stages of, you know, what can we do around the word mental health, which to me personally, I just seen the word mental go away and be more like healthy minds and healthy bodies. Because I know from our health fair, every time we had a table that had mental health on it, people walked over around the table because they just had that fear. So that's part of the challenge of getting people to feel comfortable to talk about that topic and understand there are resources that can help them out there. So that's kind of where we started.
So you want to go?
Go ahead.
Okay. So I know there's a lot more going on for the schools than used to be in conversation within the classroom about mental health and regulation, that kind of thing. But I think our kids are experiencing that problem from being home during COVID and being in classrooms where they're all kind of a little more overstimulated and managing that, where it wouldn't have bothered our kids before, but I'm seeing some of that stress from that. But I also, we have had conversation before about doing like a parent cafe type thing where, and it's not a new idea, it's an old idea about having a topic and having conversation, whether it is trauma conversations, whatever it is, the groups kind of self-identifies what they want to talk about. And it's a led discussion, but they still self-identify the topics they want. But would there be enough interest from parents and students to attend something like that? If we had a counselor or somebody kind of guide it, I think we would have to provide food, like a pizza and childcare, because I mean, really. But do you think that's something that we kind of need at this time?
Um,
Go ahead.
Sweet Home this time was canceled due to some issues with where we had it at, with like a gas leak at the church that it was at. We are looking for another option of a place to have it, but we do have groups in Albany and in Lebanon. And those ones are doing really well. Like the Albany group has about 75 people attending that. They also do offer one that's a parent and child together, learning the steps through one to another as well through the.
They get with their input and how much participation they got, so it would be somebody to look at whether or not we do, we put the flyers up on our flyer.
We seem to struggle getting the word out in our community and especially within the school. And we wish that the teachers had access to it. We also,
We do it on.
excellent.
Share, so it goes out to. It out, we need to put that more on. Do that.
I did not get it on parents swear.
Do that.
No. I only got it through my son's teacher because I advocated for it to go out. And I advocated with the principal for it to go out. And it was many conversations and, oh, well, you need to get it approved. You need to get it approved. And I said, well, it's been approved. There's just miscommunication. And I am following up with that because it is very important for everybody to be on the same page, like within the steps of this. There's been some struggles within the school, just in my own personal stuff with like my son going there, where consequences were way out of the realm for a third grader. Like, it's like you have to stay away from these two students for like, I think it was like 10 weeks or something. When that's too much for a child that age to even grasp having to stay away from those. And I tried to bring in some stuff that I learned from this, like have smaller consequences for the first time of. For Sweet Home.
We had 10. We also provide services. We are contracted with Lynn County Mental Health. So we provide family peer support services through ICC programs, CATS programs, no longer contracted for the RAP program. If you're thinking of those, Sweet Home is really lacking in the mental health support of parents. So I'm glad to hear that you guys are addressing that. That's exciting.
So because they do the health fair and Bob and Dick have been talking about providing other kinds of contact throughout the year, this would be a great time to introduce you guys and
Yep.
tell us, because not everybody here knows what you do. Go ahead.
So we've been in Sweet Home for 12 years. We have hiccups in getting our classes together and having them. Consistency really seems to be hinged on a location where we can have them. But we've found that seems to be what we've used in the past is churches. But we're trying to find something outside of a church building if we can. But it has to comply with confidentiality. Because our classes are 100% confidential, can't be coming in and out. And we're really struggling with that here in Sweet Home as far as our parenting classes. But we've been having them. People travel to Lebanon, Albany also to attend the courses. These courses are what parents are ordered to do through DHS if they need to get their kids back through the court one to another. Is the program that the courts will have them go through. Debbie Barreras is the executive director, and she has the certification for that to qualify for them to be able to go through the course. And they have to do more than just go through the course. They have to show that they've got comprehension of what we're teaching. And we've been active in this community for a while, and there's a lot of good things happening. We just need to build up our volunteer support base, which we are now doing again, getting that base going. But it's more than parenting class, it's a parenting support group. Being in rural Sweet Home, we are at the end of the track. So what happens is if they qualify for a program through Linn County Mental Health, they get, the insurance pays for a meeting. So if they have to drive to Sweet Home for the meeting, that's an additional 2 hours time coming from Albany. So what happens is the pressure sometimes is put on the families to drive to Albany. I had one family I was supporting, but she didn't even drive, let alone have the
typical
gas.
town.
It is.
Because
Yeah, they don't. And then they get bumped. It's like, well, they can't by law say, no, we won't give you services. But what happens is we have to schedule out 2 months. And these are kids that are in crisis. Parents don't know what to do with these kids. They're losing their jobs because they're getting the calls from the school or wherever, juvenile system, they've been arrested or whatever it is. So, we have a need in this community for that. Sorry, I get passionate about that because it bothers me that just because we're here in Sweet Home, that we don't have access because most of the services are in Albany and Corvallis and Salem. We
So-
don't have support groups.
So the discussion the other day at Rotary was, can you use the Boys and Girls Club or the Senior Center?
I think we went and looked at Sunshine Industries on Tuesday, and they did go to Boys and Girls Club. Historically, what happens is we need a space where the parents can meet, but then we need a separation space where the kids can be so that they aren't hearing what the parents.
What time of night is it?
tell it. It's not always night, it's often during the day. It varies. We switch it out. We do probably 3 classes a year, 2 in the spring and then 1 in the fall, maybe 1 in the winter. So, yeah. Part of the problem has also been, Debbie Barreras has been the one who is certified in order to teach the classes. And now there's been training. I happen to be trained in facilitation, and I've gone through the certification program. And I'm at the point now that I can teach in Sweet Home. But up until this time, it's just been Debbie Barreras.
So-
So that's been one of
So the police department has a large room that can split up too.
So we have parents that are often coming from trauma,
Yes.
and and police,
I'm just
yeah.
throwing
Yeah.
out.
So,
Public library
They
might be able to help
from
them.
churches, because sometimes they've had trauma from churches.
Have you
so they're
checked with
not-
the public library?
Public library doesn't really have a place again for the kids.
We
We're
have a
talking
teen
kids with
room.
behavior issues. So these aren't kids that don't necessarily damage buildings. Now, we have insurance. Come with all kinds of qualifications and letters of references of how we take care of the facilities. But we do have kids, they've got behavioral issues. So, yeah, you got to
There is a room that's back off the
behind.
library.
Okay.
Yeah, you might check with that one.
I will say that the homeless situation there in City Hall did affect my ability to meet with parents because we had to find a place to do the wrap meetings, and the resistance of going to the library was because of what they were encountering, not feeling it was safe and feeling of the smell of the building because it smelled like urine. I mean, I'm just being honest. No, but I'm excited because I've seen it's looking great, which is good. I'm very happy because that became a hindrance for that building, but maybe now I think it looks fantastic, by the way. Good job.
I had a question back here. How many kids do we have now that are homeless?
About 10%.
So it's 210, 200? Because I just was talking with the folks over at Crescent Valley and that school district there that takes in all the elementary and that has 300. But they're much larger than us. So, yeah.
We need to break that cycle.
Historical.
I think one of the things, Chrissy, when I met with the superintendent that kind of shocked me wasn't the idea that I already knew the 10% was there. But when we talked about, what I was saying in the meeting was we're working on this aftermath, that we're working on this end where we really need to be here. And when he told me what third graders was experiencing and talking about, that shocked me that we have third graders that are in a position to talk about suicide. We need to have more talks and ask those hard questions. And I think that's what I was talking about. And I've always said, we've talked this topic for years. I am sick of hearing we need to do something about mental health in this country. We need to be sitting down and having these kinds of conversations like we did with the homeless group when we first, it was tough talks because nobody knew what direction we wanted to even go, let alone find the gate in the field. But we started having the talks and, over time we chipped away with it. We brought the different entities together to have those talks and then something we move forward. And I think that's the same thing in this arena. We're going to have people come to the table, have the discussions and remove the barriers.
I think the biggest obstacle is making sure we have the right people at the table. And and that's what we have to make sure that every time we think of somebody that should be at the table, we write them down and bring them back.
And the senior center is right next to the Boys and Girls Club, and they have rooms that can be divided. And I don't know if you looked at those or not, but I would think they'd be very good for that type of a program.
Yeah, and hopefully the director was there. And I would say she would be a good person to have at the table in this discussion. She's worked as a behaviorist for Lynn County Mental Health and as a family peer support representing families for over 25 years. There's a kid on the playground that's got behaviors out of control that they cannot get come back into the building. She's the one that they call. She has a lot of insight into that. I will say Jackson Street Youth organization, they have mentors coming into our community. I would like to see Sweet Home have that service. What do we have, no, they come to us, but that's from Albany. They're coming from Albany. I'd love to see Sweet Home having the mentors. They come, something as simple as, and now granted, they gotta have training. You can't just have Joe Schmo taking these kids going anywhere, but there could be some kind of a program perhaps.
Well, there are different mentor programs here that nobody even knows are here. But, yeah.
What do we have?
I'm trying to think of the name of a couple of them that I've heard people say that they were part of these mentoring programs. And it'll come to me 2 minutes after we stop talking.
Isn't that?
On the way up to.
And there are the ones too that with offenders that have become at odds with the law, or people that advocate for kids and that need somebody to advocate for them. They're there also.
Talking about CASA.
CASAs and
Bettina Kerr.
yeah, Need Curve, that was the other one.
So I don't believe CASA is a.
It's
Yeah.
foster
But-
care,
but
but
the kids
they do a
got-
lot more than that.
Huh?
I don't think they actually have mentors, do they?
Yes.
CASA? Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
CASA has mentors?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I know 7 or 8 of them, and Jim Egan is.
His
actually-
wife is involved in
His
it
wife
as well.
is involved in that.
So Sam is just joining us. And so when he sits down, he's going to introduce himself. We also have somebody sitting at the back. Could you introduce yourself?
She can come forward too.
Yeah, come on up in the hot seat. Oh, good to know.
And I don't want to do that, so.
Okay, well, if you have any questions, just jump in and ask. We're good with that. Okay, Sam, you want to introduce yourself? We got some newbies. It's okay. We get it.
My name is Sam. Work here sometimes. I'm really tired. I'm a physician on Ridgeway Health. And what else?
You're the one who does the volunteering at FAC.
Yes.
Yeah,
And I volunteer occasionally at FAC.
he's a rock star.
Sam.
Just like everybody else here. Okay, so we're just now doing the report part for the Community Health Fair Committee, which had also had conversations about we should change the name of that. Expanding out throughout the year to have more points of contact with the community. And one of those was possibly a training or an education pieces. And we're having conversation right now about what these individuals do and the effect on the school. And so sorry, you might have to watch the tape. So anyway,
Do you want to hand out your information?
it's okay. We are just happy you're here.
First, I was trying to think of.
I've never heard.
And it is a support group. It's more than a parenting class. And it's not just teaching a curriculum. We facilitate
Special
for parents.
needs.
The parent can say, I have this situation. We're able to meet that question about how do I handle these behaviors with my child? So the parenting support group becomes like a family, if you will, because you find out you're not the only parent that happens to have a kid that's been called out of school. Nobody wants your kid anymore. We'll say one to another. It is the one thing parents say, my kid was accepted here, because they've been kicked out of the Boys and Girls Club. They've been kicked out of school. They've been kicked out of everywhere because of those behaviors.
Man.
And we welcome them because we believe that every kid, they're not bad kids. There's just some behavior and barrier we don't understand yet about why their behavior is communicating. It's usually bad parents. I would disagree with that.
It's not bad. I don't mean.
Well, you're talking trauma. Usually it's
Generational.
generational trauma. Yeah, yeah.
I've never heard of them. So they're just a Facebook group, right? Okay. Okay. A barrier that they have discovered is a location to have their meetings. And it comes with what they said was a meeting with everybody together, the parents, and then to be able to divide out children to not hear what the parents are saying, but a safe place for the children to engage in that because they have some behavioral issues. And otherwise they wouldn't be in that situation. And so just sharing that part of the dialogue, because I know you have a facility. So it might be nice to share that thought. So. Okay. Is there any, okay, because I feel like there's a lot more that could be said here and that we could hone out a bit. Are you guys ready to move on, or do you want to continue this discussion for a bit? Because we're talking about location, we're talking about expanding resources here in town and the need for that. And yes, I think we're all in agreement that there's a huge need, and that we can maybe continue this as we go forward. I would love to have you guys keep coming. Okay. Okay. Ridgeway. Okay. Okay. So, any more questions? Oh my goodness, I thought you were going to get one. Okay, so Western University.
All right. Well, Western University. I did get an email from Michelle Riedel, who was one of the student doctors, and I had posed the question to her: what progress have you made towards, putting an end and putting all this information together so that the focus groups could all come up with a plan? So at any rate, she said that, and to quote her, we are diligently working, compiling and upgrading our data. So they're working on it. It probably will be at least another month or so before they have a report of their findings. So that was one of the questions that I had asked her. And the second one was, how's the mentoring program going? And she said they are doing a combination of Zoom meetings and in-person meetings with the students that are in the class. This past week, the students from Sweet Home High School visited the campus and learned about applicable osteopathic techniques. So I don't know what that means necessarily, but I'm sure that those kids learned a lot. Anyway, I appreciate the young doctors in training because they are being extremely helpful with our students. They're good role models for the kids. Talking about modeling, these are students from the Western University campus that come and meet with our kids on a weekly basis. And so they do have the kids visiting their campus, and hopefully that'll open the doors for future things for our students. Something that the kids here in Sweet Home need to know they can do more. And so I'm very encouraged that this program seems to be working very well. This is the third year of the program, I believe. No, fourth year, maybe. Anyway, it's going very well. And so as soon as they have their report finished, we'll invite them to present to the group.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, it is very exciting. So.
Do we have any questions?
You're allowed, those of you that are new, you're allowed to ask questions because you probably don't know what we're talking about. So don't be afraid to ask. It's a program that was started by the health committee actually met with representatives from Western University probably 4 years ago or 5 years ago, and we wanted to know how our students could be more involved with their students. And we were looking for mentoring type activities. And so they have consistently provided those mentors for the last few years. So it's been a very positive program for the kids.
And they're always offering to be involved in our activities. So
The students from Western University are fantastic. It's not just these mentors, but a lot of the students are doing things here in Sweet Home. I know the Rotary sponsors an elementary track meet every year, and they have doctors there, or not doctor students there, helping with the track meet. And if indeed the kids, start to get heat stroke, or, if they have any kind of physical issues, they kind of try and deal with it. And if they can't deal with it, then they find the school nurse, and the school nurse deals with it. So fortunately, we don't have too many injuries or issues of that kind. But
well,
some of the students from the university did help with the homeless huts and helping build those on the days that we had our community activities. So
and many of these students plan on becoming rural doctors. So that's very nice. It
Yes.
gives them points of contact with our community and what that looks like. So, all right. So, any questions? All right. Homeless Action Committee.
Homeless Action Committee. I'm going to get help today from our police chief and our city manager and from Brock. So I'll start with just the information I got from Brock. I asked him, just give me a quick update on how the homeless situation is going. Normally, we only have 4 or 5 people with these.
So
I will make sure all. Something that moves in there. And Larry is fine. All of you just.
We're good.
I'll just
We're
talk
good.
to you. Just talk to us. Brock sent me some slides that really wasn't the information I wanted, but I'll go through the slides so that I can tell him that, yes, we went through the slides. If you'll turn to the first page, there is data there that has been collected by FAC as to the clients that are there. They've actually worked with 41 different clients, and 58% of them were males and 42% were females. So it's almost evenly spread. And the ethnicity of all of the clients, as you can see, the majority are white, which is no surprise for Sweet Home. Total bed nights, that's the number of people that have actually slept there over the time period, which I think was through February 22nd, I think it's what he said. 797 nights people have slept in there for the last seven weeks. So there's basically about 23 clients currently at the site. Some of them are actually couples, and the couples can either share a hut together or they can have their own individual huts. And as it is right now, they all have individual huts. So that's something that he wanted us to know. Manna is serving meals 3 days a week, and FAC is serving 2 meals a day, 7 days a week. And when he says meals, there's cereal there available, there's milk, there's, there are things that they can make. Macaroni and cheese, those kinds of things. Uh, they've actually found housing for 4 different clients. The clients are engaged in helping keep the place clean. They're cleaning restrooms, they're picking up garbage, they're working on finishing the huts that are not finished. And according to Brock, he's talked with the police and the fire department and has said that the calls have been greatly reduced. And what I would at this point just ask the chief, do you have anything that you might want to report on as far as calls?
Oh, I would just reiterate exactly what you said is, ever since the facility got up and running, and everyone moved over from Old City Hall, it's been phenomenal. I mean, we still respond to calls, here and there, but it's almost completely gone away. I mean, it's been amazing. Responding. So yeah, I guess that would be 4 or 5 calls there responding to facility, and then,
Is that since they opened?
yeah,
So prior to how many calls would you say the month before, roughly?
oh yeah, you know.
So in the same period, so January 14th. Ish, I don't remember the exact number, he got those late.
Right.
About a year ago, in the same period, we.
Wow.
This year. December 14th. That period was 17 calls. That period to. Did 2 arrests, serious crimes.
Okay.
Vastly reduced. So they really, but the officers say, when I ask them about it, out there, what's a shift?
Once a shift.
Yeah,
Wow.
and so I don't know if that's a regular care, you know, certainly calls and support. That's their experience. This is going by there.
Okay.
They don't.
And is this the severity of the calls reduced? I mean,
We certainly haven't had anything as serious.
Yeah, definitely. It has reduced. Yeah.
We've seen, you know, trespassing. I think that's
Pretty
That's
much it, yeah.
maybe a POH. So mental health talk.
Now, one of the things that Brock said today that I was really pleased to hear, and I guess I can ask for confirmation. All of the clients now have some kind of a managed plan for them. Is that accurate as far as
They're making-
what you've seen?
I don't. specific
Right.
Plans, but I know they're making goals. Colorful ones are, they're writing goals down on their own. They're pursuing things. They're tripping, you know, they trip and they fall. Back up and they'll him up and literally trip. But that's, you know, it's really. And be optimistic about things. Seeing the changes. Amazing. Beginning of the journey. Some of them. But it's not. It's never gonna be easy.
Oh.
So. Support there. It makes it easier.
Brock said that he did not get an actual case numbers or number of cases that the fire department has responded to, but he did talk with the fire chief, Nick, and the chief told him that the calls that they've been called to have been also greatly reduced. I think in the beginning, because they had access to people, they were making some requests for ambulances for sore throats and for, some minor issues. And it was a matter of training them that they didn't have to call for those types of events. They could actually be dealt with on site. And I don't know, Doc, I don't know how much you've been over there or how much you've been involved. Do you have any input on the medical side of it that you've seen? As needed, yeah. Right. Yeah. Getting better? Maybe. Okay. All right. And we also have a nurse that's there. Or I don't know how much time do you? How much time she spends there? Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. If you'll flip the next page over, it talks about some of the issues that our clients that are using the facility, 50% of those that are using the facility have some history with domestic violence. 50. I'm just reading what's here. 50% have.
So would it have been violence to them at some point or violence that they've participated in?
I'm
It's
assuming that it
all-
was violence
all-
that was done to them.
Okay.
That's my assumption, but yeah.
I actually would have thought the number'd be higher.
Yeah, I would have too. Severe disabilities, 41% of those that are clients have some type of severe disability. 35% some type of mental illness, and alcohol addiction, drug addiction, 41%. Now these, I'm assuming, are self-reported numbers. So, are they accurate? Probably as accurate in their minds as it can be. I was surprised that we didn't have more veterans that were using the facility. That kind of surprised me a little bit. It's actually 15% are knew they were veterans and using the facilities. The majority are on OHP. 85% is what it says. And 24% are on Social Security and 22% Social Security with disabilities. I can't answer that, but the people there are helping them register for it if they are not there. They're helping them get driver's license. They're helping them sign up for Social Security if they're eligible, or Social Security disability. Sean, you have other info on that part of it?
I don't understand.
I understand that. Okay, if we'll flip the page, when we were spending 2 years talking with the community about the homeless facility, over and over and over again, we had people complaining that we're going to be inundated with people from all over the world. We're going to have people from Lebanon. We're going to have people from Albany. We're going to have all these people coming here because we have this facility. Well, the numbers that I see on this sheet here indicate that Sweet Home, by far, there is a connection with Sweet Home by most of the clients. They may have lived here in the past and have come back. They may have relatives that live here. They may have gone to high school here and come back looking for, their high school years. I don't know. But as you can see from the numbers there, very few of the clients come from any place other than Sweet Home. So I think that that's an important point to make to anyone that wants to listen, because that was probably the biggest fear of people at the meetings when we held the meetings over the 2-year period, was that we're going to be inundated with outsiders. And the numbers don't show that.
If we build it, they're gonna come here.
We heard that over and over and over again. In fact, one of the people that was doing that bantering that every time he stood up and talked at a city council meeting, we invited him to serve on the committee that oversees this facility. And at our last meeting with this committee, he actually at the end of the meeting said, "You know what? I'm a convert. I was adamantly opposed to this coming to our community. And now it has made a difference. I'm a convert. I believe that it works. I've been over there. I've seen it. It's working. And it is doing everything that you said it would do." Boy, that everybody there kind of opened their eyes and said, "Whoa, Doc."
The gravel road by the railroad tracks. That's what it's talking about.
I haven't gone back there, but
It goes over to Clark Mill.
back there.
It was being used prior to the installation because the road has always existed, just like it goes from Clark Mill over to along the tracks there, all the way through Weimar, and then from the Public Works over to Weimar behind the fence, there's an area that used to be a road. And when that went in, we knew that they would probably walk back and forth through there. But as long as they're not bothering the houses, we weren't too worried about it.
No, I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah.
They kind of money.
Was an opportunity because we had several spurs before, but over time, people have built their fences over it and they've been given that property. And so we have a spot that there's one off of, I believe it's Elm Street that we have, but that opportunity is kind of gone for us. It's sad because it could have been a wonderful asset.
So I think that trail in there was used more about 3 weeks ago or a month ago. There was about 8 vehicles on 18th that were along 18th there. And there was quite a bit of traffic from those vehicles over that direction. And I think when those vehicles left off 18th, I think that a lot of that
Slowed down a little,
slowed down. Because there was about 8 of them in there, wasn't there, Chief?
Yeah, I would say.
different times.
Maybe 10.
I also think that if there's more development out there towards the Sunshine Industries and off of Clarkville, that people will continue to walk through there. Because that way they don't have to work out on the highway. And all people.
Yeah. Okay. The last page we already talked about, so the chief addressed that already, so we don't need to do that. I would like to let our city manager have a few moments to talk about the most up-to-date things that are going on with the homeless in our Sweet Home community. If you don't mind.
So let's see. So FAC has been a great success in that particular low barrier shelter. Seems to be going really, really well. As we kind of touched on earlier as well, there are far fewer RVs. You're not going to see the same amount of car camping. All of the RVs are not allowed to actually camp in our right of ways, and car camping is only allowed in the police department and in that parking lot where there are some resources. And that's also where we have a warming shelter that's open 24 hours in case anybody needs it. So there's been a lot of work done on sort of cleaning up the town and making it look a lot nicer. We're going to be working on putting together actually a Saturday market in the parking lot across from the library that'll start in May, and as well as looking at some green spaces next to Old City Hall and making Old City Hall into an artisan workspace area. We're still working on that, but kind of bringing it back to the community. At the same time, though, we're also aware that while this has made tremendous progress, we still have some challenges, particularly with families and with children. And we met with the school district last Monday. It was not that long ago, but it was still, it's all a little bit of a blur. And we were discussing how many families and children are unable even to have any type of home, and unintentionally by moving some of the RVs and so forth, we have some children who are now even off the map further and are living in vans and other places, in driveways and back lots, who in some ways are in a worse position than they were before we made some of these initiatives. And so the city council declared a state of emergency regarding the homelessness last Wednesday on March 1st. And then since then, we've been working with the county, and the county is now going to be asking to be part of the governor's state of emergency initiative and is working on their declaration. We met today that I think they are sending out tomorrow, which is the due date for all of that. And they have also agreed to partner with us and to help provide resources so that we can come up with some ideas and ways to have a family shelter and a children's shelter. And we're also going to look on partnering on some of the shelters that are already available in Albany and in other places to be more aware of where there are openings for children and families, and then working through this. It's going to be another long process because this has been an ongoing issue for a while. However, looking at Lynn County's rates, Sweet Home declaring an emergency has pushed and asking for their assistance has pushed Lynn County to now declare an emergency. And they are actually the ones who are very obviously eligible for this. So based on the numbers that I received yesterday, there has been an increase in Lynn County of a change in unsheltered of 104%. So we've seen a huge increase. So not quite sure what the future is going to hold here. But what's good is we're going to have a lot more conversations, and we're going to be talking with DHS, and we're going to be discussing with some other agencies on sort of a larger scale of how can we start mitigating this and solving this. So it's been a lot over the last week, so I don't have more information than that, but it is encouraging to have partners with the county and some other areas. And when it's like an onion, we kind of tackled everything that was going on. And because of that, and because of the success of FAC, then I think we're able to look at some of these other issues a little bit more closely as well. So any questions about that? All right.
The FAC facility is what's called a low barrier facility, which means basically you can have animals there. You can be a user of drugs, but you cannot have drugs on site. We can only tell you what the rules are. Yeah. So at any rate, it's a low barrier site. And the goal, one of the main goals, there are many goals, but one of the main goals is to transition these people into more permanent housing, whether that be a transitional house or a transitional place to live, and eventually into permanent housing somewhere. And it's my understanding that there are now 4, maybe 5 individuals that have actually transitioned all the way into permanent housing already. So that's a big step, I think, for the homeless in our community. Transitional housing is something that I know Kelsey is familiar with because her previous job dealt with transitional housing and how to develop those types of living arrangements. And I know that's something that FAC is very interested in trying to continue to nurture. And so I'm sure that FAC will be working with the city and other individuals along the way to try and figure out how we can do more transitional housing. Yes.
You know that FAC was working with the homeless while they were living there at the Church of the Nazarene next to Thriftway.
Yes.
And I know that they were having success with getting them into housing, some of them, not all. So the statistics you were just talking about, is that are they the ones that were there at the Church of the Nazarene that FEC was helping at the time? Or are you talking specifically while they've been in this homeless camp?
Specifically while they've been in the homeless camp.
Awesome.
Yeah. Prior to that, you're right. That was 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, I believe. And FAC at that point in time did help some of them find homes. A lot of those same clients are now at our facility at off of 24th Avenue. So they've been homeless for a number of years. And it's, I'll just tell there's one young lady, not young, there's a young lady, I'm going to call her a young lady, that I know the police are very familiar with her in the community. If you've driven down the street and had a young lady screaming cuss words at you and jumping up and down and ranting and raving and basically making a scene. I walked through the site probably 2 weeks ago, and she looked at me and she said, "I know you." And I said, "You do?" And she goes, "You've worked on this, haven't you?" I said, "Well, yeah, we have." "Thank you. Thank you. Because now I have a place where I can actually be safe and secure." And it's my understanding that she is starting to go back on her medication. She's made some drastic changes. Is she perfect yet? Is she back to whatever normal is, which I don't think any of us know what normal is. But no, she's not. Is she better off than she was? Oh, yeah, by a long shot. The fact that that woman was actually able to even, first of all, recognize me, and secondly, to say thank you. I mean, I almost started crying. So it is making a difference. And I guess that's what this committee needs to hear. I think this is what our community needs to hear. We need to embrace the situation and turn it in, turn those lemons into lemonade. We really need to do that because good things are happening out there. The angel is over there, and the man with no hair, and Jason and the police department and our city manager, the city manager, all the people. On one day, we had 100 individuals from our community working on those huts. You didn't count them.
I did. I actually counted them.
He's like that.
At any rate, the Rotary Club threw out a message in February for a blanket drive. We had to stop because we had so many blankets, they couldn't take all of them. There wasn't room to store them. I mean, there was probably, I'll try not to exaggerate, 75 to 100 blankets got donated in 2 weeks. Blankets that, if you think about the cold that we've had over the last month, those blankets probably made a difference. If they'd been out on the street during the weather that we've had, I would bet we could have had some very serious ill people. Hypothermia. Yeah, even with the huts we did. One lady brought in 30 Pendleton blankets. You know how much a Pendleton blanket costs? These were brand new. 30 of them. Rotary has bought 30 curtain rods, and the seniors at the senior sewing club at the senior center are making the curtains for those. We have 6 sets of curtains so far. Furlong Church, is my understanding that they made the 30 quilts for the beds at the homeless center. I know that the community had some real doubts 2.5, 3 years ago. Hopefully people are starting to see that their worries were for naught and that this is a good thing for our community.
Sorry, I always ask questions.
That's all right.
So some people have wanted to donate to the facility down here, but they're saying don't bring it to
Correct.
the facility. Do we have a place in Sweet Home where people can bring it? Do we have a place where FA can access it? So
First of all, we need to, I would say before you donate anything, you need to call them and find out, is it something they need?
so we got a list.
Okay, from them? Okay,
There was some about how to get it to them. So people were accidentally bringing it, and we don't want that to happen because that's not what FAC wants. So then the question is there a place? Does Sweet Home have a place? Okay, so at the police department. If
yeah,
it's you-
not a van full of,
Okay, because I know it's storage, it would be a storage issue, but I didn't know if we had a location here in Sweet.
well, and storage is an issue. Storage is a big issue at the site because the only facility that other than the huts is the old city hall annex, which is nothing more than a portable. It's a trailer that's, I don't know, 30 by 60, maybe something like that. We actually have access to a shed that's been donated that will be a good storage facility. We just need to get it moved over. So it is going to happen. It is going to happen and there will be some more storage. We could ask, but right now I think let's find out if we can have, if we can get the container or the storage shed first and see what they need.
It's a 10 by 12 storage sheds.
When we went to the Walla Walla facility, they had a place where people could hang out and plug in their phones and that kind of thing, which we have. And then they had an office space where people could get counseling for employment and all of this stuff. And they had these little cubicles, but they also had a storage issue with food, but they had a separate trailer unit for the showers, a washer and dryer, and storing all the quilts and everything. We don't have that. Yes, they did. So that when people were transitioning into housing, they could be saving the stuff that they were collecting to have when they move in. And so those are the things I think we need. We need a place where FAC can launder the blankets and store the blankets and to move up a little bit on that and to have food and the quiet space to work, and those, we are missing that, but I'll be happy when we get a front porch.
There are many needs.
Yeah.
The needs just continue.
Yes, they do.
And that's why we're applying for all this extra help. And I don't know that the needs will ever stop because it's the clients that we're dealing with are very needy. And so it will continue.
It'll just make it.
And we'll continue to hopefully make the place better. There are no laundry facilities there right now, but it's in the works. Right now, if they need to do laundry, they get vouchers to go to the laundromat so they can get their laundry done if they wish. They can do their laundry. It's not going to get it done for them, but they'll do their own laundry. The buses actually stop by and pick them up. There's a bus stop right out off the street for them. So yeah, they can do that. What questions do you have as a committee and as citizens that
So, do we have a list what they need?
you apparently got a list?
No. I don't mean like a blanket. I mean like the front porch. I mean, like a cover for the back porch or, those kind of things. That I know they're working on everything, but if we, do we have a list of what it's going to take to finish out this?
Oh, I have a list up here. Do we have a list that you could hand to a contractor? No,
Okay,
but
so we do in some ways, but because there's certain things that the FAC still has to do in order to meet basic Oregon code requirements to get their certificate of occupancy. So we do have a little bit of a list on just what they absolutely have to do. However, we do not have a list for the nice to haves. I mean, we kind of do, like, I have one in my head too, based on some of the things that we've all kind of been discussing. So I think we could probably compile a list, especially if we got with Brock. But I don't think there is one yet. And I know money is tight for them too. So a lot of this, they have just been trying to figure out the bare minimum.
I do think a list that could be possibly put in the paper. Washer, dryer, basic things that they need. Storage unit. You already offered that? Very good. One or
With
two.
Washer and dryer though is where you put it.
Yeah.
You don't have a building to put it in. There's.
Well, they have
Washer and dryer.
they have a spot for
Yeah.
a commercial, not a commercial, a residential washer and dryer. That could go in probably immediately. But they don't room for a commercial washer and dryer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We need ones that are going to put up with blankets constantly.
Well, but
so.
that they may have to take them somewhere else.
Well,
Yeah.
The other
What-
challenge
Go ahead.
that they have, just to be aware, is by Oregon code, they have to be set up as a commercial facility. So I know it's frustrates me too. So there's certain things that they have to adhere to that make it a little bit more challenging. So that might have been part of the reason why they said no too. Not if you're part of this commercial facility.
Subletting.
Well,
You gotta
it's
follow
still
the
would
code.
fall under that. But there's probably other solutions
Yeah.
we could come up with.
What I will do is talk with Brock to see if he can develop a list that possibly we could at least put out to the public saying, that we need this, 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 and this. Does anybody wish to donate it?
Yeah, a list would be good because I asked 3 weeks ago. I sent him an email. I haven't heard back from him. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'd like to see something that we can attack.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm thinking of is because I went out there and Brock was up washing laundry, the blankets. And well, he can't be doing his job if he's up doing blankets there, where if the facility was where it's supposed to be at, then he would be able to do that. And I know that that's got to be a high priority for them, but I didn't know if it was wired in, plumbed in. What is it that they need to make this happen?
The small one is. Yeah, I don't think a commercial unit could be, I don't think it could be used. But I think a residential unit, washer, dryer, which would at least take care of some of it.
So they need to have commercial grade, but yet beauticians and beauty shops who wash their own towels and things don't have to.
I think blankets, when you're washing blankets in a residential and you're doing load after load after load of blankets, not gonna last.
There's something, and I don't know, I can get back to everybody on that one. But there is also something about the sanitization or something that has to occur as well.
I would worry about fumes too. Yeah, up from the laundry detergent.
So I have another hat I wear,
Okay.
One Sweet Home. So we're in conversation with the churches in the community, which have supported a lot of homeless in our community.
Yeah, in the past, you did a
Uh,
lot.
Is there a list where I could get my name as on my email address? So when you do get that list, whatever it would be, porch, commercial grade facility, I mean, seriously, dream big. What is it that you actually need? And get that, we can streamline that communication to the churches in the community.
When we leave, when this meeting's over,
Okay, thank you.
you have a blank sheet of paper.
Listen, I don't know the sign-in sheet tonight.
We don't have a sign sheet, that's what I was.
Oh, I know, because everybody stated their names and stuff. Maybe that's,
At any rate,
thinking if we had a name.
give me your email afterwards and I'll make sure, because I usually kind of send everything out. Yes, my pleasure. Thank you.
Well, and actually, one of the things I wanted to bring up as new business was to try to see if we would want to bring in One Sweet Home, to start having some of the churches just come and talk here periodically, or at least be aware of what the health committee is doing so that we could potentially form partnerships. So I
Sounds
think
like
that-
we have one.
exactly. So I think this is very good timing. So, if we can share information, and we don't manage the FAC, I mean, they're their own site. We just happen to be in contact with them.
And I just help them.
Yeah, we just had a meeting literally today, and it was this very topic here, so I'd be happy to talk to you.
we've had some show up, but it's not very often, kind of, sporadic. So, okay. Anything else on that? Chief, Sean?
Any questions from the dental side of it? Okay. I'm sure there's a lot of dental work that needs to be done over there. So if you need any help with that, let me know. Hey, I've been to Guatemala and I've pulled teeth. And it's not fun, especially when you hear it go crack, crack, and there's no anesthetic.
Oh, no, ouch. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. What?
I was in a meeting today and in Corvallis. And you know what the main topic that came up over there? Homelessness. You know what they were talking about? They wanted everybody to have socks, all the members of the deal, so that if they saw somebody homeless, that they could give them a pair of clean socks. They're just at that point of starting out. So they're that far behind where we are here. This maybe have been where we were 10 years ago or 5 years ago. But today, we're quite a bit ahead of where they are, and we still have a long ways to go. So all I'm saying is that we can't get discouraged at any time because we think there's a lot of things to do, because there's a lot of places that haven't even got to where we're at. It's a leaking down. I saw it today. I mean, literally when they were handing me socks and saying, hand these out.
Were they Bombas? I'm just kidding.
So that concludes that part of it. Old business, we had announced that Jim was compiling outreach, a list and outreach for people to, should be here at the table.
That's why I needed the names and the phone numbers.
Okay. And so,
Anything.
and if you can think of anybody else that needs to be
I
here,
don't have a sheet.
anyway, because there's many people who should be in the room and working, and especially since we will be setting new goals and looking and identifying ways that we can help our community. Just like the conversation, do we need to have like parent cafes or something like that so that we can give our community that we have now that are parents the same opportunities that they would have had in the past, but in a way that they can accept it and grow and learn and become better human beings that way, and give them the tools they need. So,
Could I ask
yes,
the ladies a question?
yes.
It sounds like the schools, it doesn't work doing these meetings at the schools.
Sometimes some of the issues are in the schools themselves. So that can be a barrier to parents participating. And the confidentiality piece of that in the past has come into play. Actually, some of the city hall would be great, but there's a lot of confidentiality pieces to that. And honestly, the director, and I have a business card to give you afterwards if you want. Debbie Barreras would be the person that could explain what those specific pieces are. And in the past, there, I think, have been barriers in the schools themselves.
Well, I know I was superintendent of schools here in this community for 10 years. And I would have loved to have had access to someone like your group. Because
I don't
being
know.
the superintendent, I had many, many parents of kids that were having issues in my office. And I had no place to send them to get help.
Yeah, and it's even more desperate today than it has been in the past.
Oh, I'm sure it's
That-
much worse now, 10 years later.
I'm watching parents that are at the emergency room with their kid. And they don't know what to do. And then they send them home with a crisis plan. They have no idea.
What's this,
They're
right?
in crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah, sharps. What does that mean?
Yeah.
Keep sharps, those kind of things. And so they're waiting. And in the meantime, they're watching their kid. If they knew how to help their kid, they would have helped their kid already. And half the time they're caught off guard. They had no idea that
Yeah.
was going on.
No, I would think a
um,
parent support group.
I don't know what the barrier is with the school, because I think we could be a great support to the teachers.
Is it the
in
schools?
behaviors. We
Is it the
do
school
teachers.
saying we can't accommodate you?
I don't know what the
Or,
barrier is. We do take it. We always give a flyer to the district.
yeah,
And I don't know what they do with it once we give that. I will say Christie's the first person I've had conversation with that really gets it, really understands what one to another could do. I would love to see all the teachers come to our classes just so they can gain ideas and skills,
Mhm.
because we teach the skill sets of what the kids are delayed in, which causes behaviors.
So I gotta tell you something. It's not just the teachers. When you say teachers, say assistants, bus drivers,
Oh,
and
Yeah.
anyway,
staff.
All of them.
Because when if you don't say all of them, every one of those bus drivers is with a group of kids longer each day than a lot of teachers are each day with those kids.
and driving a bus.
Driving a bus or the assistants on the playground with these kids for a long period of time at lunch and breaks. So we got to have all of them trained. And I'm not being
no,
but I see that the teachers and the assistants right now acting as therapists in the schools.
Closest things to it.
Closest thing that they have right now, because they they don't have their moms or dads that they can count on. And so next thing you know, they're creating those bonds with their teachers and their assistants and their bus drivers and their
Office staff,
office
everybody.
staff, anybody
Yeah.
that will listen.
Yeah.
So
So have you had a sit down with the superintendent,
No, not that I'm aware.
Harry Martin?
Very much.
Seems like a very nice gentleman. He's willing to talk and willing to listen.
I know a school board member too.
There's a school board member here. There's a former retired superintendent here. You need to communicate
I
with
tell
Terry.
people, anybody that has contact with another human should attend our classes, honestly. So it's a life changer for me. The reason I volunteer probably 25 hours a week to this organization. And the reason I do is I come from a single parent home, crisis and trauma, and we didn't have programs available when we were young. Our circumstance could have been entirely different. Generational trauma could have been stopped. My brother wound up committing suicide here in Sweet Home behind the Circle K.
Yeah.
At the old baseball place. These programs that we have available could have helped my family. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm passionate about
Yep.
families in Sweet Home. And so any barrier that could come down that stops these classes from being available and getting the word out to have them come, it changes lives. It has changed my life to
Well,
get involved with this organization.
we've had 4 focus groups of community members over the last months trying to identify issues. And the one issue that everyone talked about was mental health. And that's kind of what we're talking about.
The families I work with,
So
how is that?
what I keep hearing is there's no resources. There's nobody out there that can help us. We can't afford counselors. We've got something that at least we can start to talk about. Doc?
We address autism in the schools, but you know, we have a whole bunch of parents out there who are never identified. And so, you know, it's, yeah,
All of the above.
so.
So I'd highly recommend you give Terry a call and try and set up a meeting with him face to face.
Shortened, what do you mean by shortened? We actually are recognizing that that's a need that the community is having, deal with skills. Maybe the parents want to just start having understanding of the skill sets, the 7 skill sets, you know, emotional regulation, social, those kind of things. And then how to help their kids, how to figure out where they're lacking. And we also have helping parents get rules, routines, expectations in their home. So we are organizing smaller segments of it.
Just thinking like even
Oh,
course for the school district and the teachers outside and drill.
Oh.
Would you have a shortened version of it?
yes. Yes.
Well, there
So
is
like
mental,
about a day.
Yeah, we, Debbie has done that in the past. We're specifically with schools trying to get a, you know, compacted thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
there is mental health first aid and there is some of those other ones. But there's only one or two of them that actually interact with children as much as the mental health first aid is more identifying that need where it doesn't address the one-on-one action with people.
I think this is.
But identifying is the first step, so.
And yeah, we'd be interested in hearing what specifically the teachers would want. Like, what are they dealing with and what do they think they have a need of?
Staff.
Staff,
That's staff.
seriously, we need to be looking at it as a whole-
Holistically.
holistically, not just singularly.
He's a school board member.
Because when we say teachers, we're not talking about administrators. We're not talking about all those, and they're all staff. They all deal with kids.
And most of us have not had training dealing with the severity of kids that we deal with in today's classrooms. I was an educator for 43 years, and when I retired, I came back and served as a principal at Holly School. And I had a young man that I didn't have the training 43 years, and I didn't have the training on how to deal with this little guy. He was a first grader that, I mean, he just raised Cain in that school. But you can't touch him. So you clear the classroom. All the other kids' education goes out in the hall while this little guy throws his fit. And that's all you could do, because I didn't have the training on how to deal with this little guy. He needed a lot more than I had. I thought I was pretty well educated. But something like your program, and the parents were really frustrated. They didn't know what to do, because I'd call them and say, he's really gone one today. Can you come down and take him home, let him calm down, then bring him back? Because he's not calming down here. What do I do? Well, the mom left work. Come get him. I understand. I'm sorry he's disrupting. And, they're totally lost. She was probably 25, maybe 26 years old, not knowing at all what to do.
And we're putting that mental health issue on them.
Oh, the stress
Mhm.
from that
So-
family was horrendous.
And they're drowning.
They were drowning.
Parents are
They were drowning.
on the wait list for any type of help.
I am a parent of a child like that.
Yeah.
We've been turned away from for one to another
Yeah.
from every organization out there. He has too many issues. We won't touch him with a 10-foot pole. He's suicidal now in DHS custody.
Yeah. It's rarely really difficult. And if there's any, I think anyone would want any information you would have. So go talk with Terry Martin.
And we also train people.
And if you need me there, I'll come sit with you. But I don't think you need me there. I think you got it. Yeah. Benny's not a parent. He's too young.
After listening to the conversation.
You don't want to ever miss out on it, Benny.
Sam, part of that is each one of us has to be able to do that and not feel that somebody else's eyes are on us because of us having to reach out to somebody else. And that's, each person has to humiliate yourself, if you will, to humble
Humble
yourself
yourself.
to
Yeah.
a point that you understand that if I need help with my child, I need help. And it's not bad because everybody else is doing it too.
It is our new normal. And we've always had a problem. No, it's always been there. Generations of alcoholism and work injuries and all of these things. But they've never been talked about. And so I'm having and seeing things with the kids that I've never, in all my years of working with the school district, have experienced either. The level of stress, the level of things the kids are saying about how their parents feel about them and that kind of thing. It's heart-wrenching. And these kids are trying to navigate. And I see a resiliency coming back to them, but at the same time, they need the tools to be successful. And their parents need the tools to be successful. And they're just trying to put food on the table and they're having that stress too. So I love the conversation that we're having tonight because I think it's seriously needed. I think we can work together to find some good solutions for some people and it'll affect our community in a positive way. We have been at this for quite a while, so we're going to round it up. Do a last, if unless somebody really has a heartburn to say something, we're going to go around and everybody will make sure that they've put everything out on the table tonight. So Jim.
Nothing.
All right.
Thank you all for being here tonight. Good conversation.
At the direction of the mayor, this committee is going to actually become a city committee. So there will be some updates about that, moving away from an ad hoc to an actual city committee. And so we'll kind of talk more about that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here. See no further business before us. I call this meeting adjourned.
So, Kelsey, that charter or is that just,
I don't think it should have to be. Oh, wow.
Is that a big deal?
No, it's just 3 readings and.
Right?
Readings.
Well, I'm just thinking, it's having us go from that to.
No, but you'll have,
Dignity
you'll
happy.
have permanent people assigned. You'll have quorums.
Huh?
Wish it would still meet like this.
Yes. That's the reason I originally.
He is recorded, so he can read what?
Yeah, I'll make sure I reach out to him. I'm surprised he wasn't here.
Yeah.
Let's kill him when he gets here.
He lets us know.
Is this yours?
Yeah, he's here, listen here.
Yes.
I know Josh real well. All right, but I'm not coming. Well, if you wanna go have lunch with him. I'll ask him if they're. And Josh knows me well. So him and my son went to school together. They were both wrestlers.
Do you know what Henry did with his Waffles?
Henry? I do not know.
You might call him. I don't know where they went, but yeah, a lot of commercial washers.
Yeah. You know, Lisa and I bought, when the fires were here, we bought commercial washers from Kellenberger's over in Lebanon. It was $2,000. Commercial washers. There was a commercial stackable washer. Totally. They gave them to us at cost. What's that? Okay.
So that's what I should do is just,
I've been working on the, protocols. I've got some stuff that I'm gathering.
we should talk.